Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. We all know writers get way too much credit in Hollywood, and that's due to the generosity of actors sometimes mentioning them. What would writers do without actors? I don't want to keep going on about actors, but they're the most important ones, okay?
British comedian Ricky Gervais has never been one to avoid controversy, and his recent bold critiques of Hollywood's so-called woke agenda are no exception. Known for his sharp wit, biting sarcasm, and unapologetic approach to comedy, Gervais has frequently expressed his disdain for what he perceives as Hollywood's obsession with political correctness, virtue signaling, and censorship in the name of inclusivity. In one instance, he directed sharp remarks toward Kate Winslet, delivering a brutal roast.
Well done, Winslet. I told ya, do a Holocaust movie, the awards come, didn't I?
One Gervais' critiques of the entertainment industry are nothing new. He made headlines in 2020 when he hosted the Golden Globe Awards for the 5th time, delivering a scathing monologue that targeted the hypocrisy of Hollywood elites. He called out their moral posturing while, as he put it, turning a blind eye to the harsh realities of the industry they are a part of.
Hollywood foreign press have warned me that if I insult any of you, or any of them, or offend any viewers, or cause any controversy whatsoever, they'll definitely invite me back next year as well. The thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. It's offence is about things, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one.
At the core of Gervais' criticism is what many describe as the woke agenda. To him, this term signifies an excessive push for inclusivity that often results in tokenism, censorship, and the stifling of diverse perspectives. He argues that comedy, in particular, has been negatively impacted, as comedians now tread carefully, fearing backlash for offending someone or being branded as insensitive.
Comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that, but you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing, you know, because I'm not doing it for the 200 egos in the room. I'm doing it for the 200 million people watching around who aren't winning awards, who aren't.
Right from the start, Gervais takes aim at both himself and the industry, joking about how little he cares, and even suggesting that NBC must not care much either, given how many times they've invited him back. He throws in a jab about Kevin Hart being fired from the Oscars, humorously positioning himself as lucky for facing less scrutiny from the Hollywood foreign press.
And freedom of speech is so important these days. I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. It's a sin. Not to joke about all the bad things, that's a waste. Because that's exactly what we should joke about. If you can laugh in the face of adversity, you're bulletproof.
He is totally right about all of this. And also, the minute he steps off set, every one of the heartbeats of The View will attack.
For Gervais effortlessly transitions to poking fun at Hollywood's elite, joking about the room being filled with legendary stars like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, but he doesn't miss the chance for some comic misidentification, humorously mixing up Joe Pesci with Baby Yoda, adding a lighthearted touch. The mood shifts slightly as Gervais throws in a sharp joke about the industry's fear of journalist Ronan Farrow, turning the humor into a pointed reflection on Hollywood's power dynamics.
Hosted the Golden Globes. Is it 5 times you hosted the Golden Globes?
5 times over 10 years, yeah.
Were you in the audience for any of Ricky's Golden Globes?
Several times. It was a little bit.
I think it cuts to you in one of them.
I think when you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know. Yeah, to me.
Gervais continues by addressing the lack of diversity in major award categories, humorously pointing out how many talented people of color were overlooked. With his signature bluntness, he quips that there's nothing anyone can do about it because, as he puts it, the Hollywood foreign press is very, very racist.
Yeah. But it's a little bit like the experience of being in the room with you at the Golden Globes is a little bit like the tail end of a family Christmas.
Yes.
Where you know it's
drunk uncle.
Drunk uncle.
With his trademark sarcasm, Gervais jokes that the entire show could be shortened to simply announcing Netflix as the winner of everything. He adds that binge-watching Netflix series like Afterlife would be far more enjoyable than sitting through the ceremony.
Do we show him where the bathroom is? Or do we just let him?
I can feel that, and I can see the tension. And then when I do a joke about them, they think, "Oh, that was all right." Like Leo DiCaprio was sort of laughing, thinking, "You could have said a lot worse," you know.
As the jokes take a darker turn, Gervais sets his sights on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, delivering a bold joke about the disgraced financier's death. The punchline lands with shock and laughter, making it clear that nothing is off limits for the host tonight.
The idea that a guy actually had a island. I mean,
that's what Ricky Gervais was joking about last night.
Did you watch that?
Of course he was. No, but I did see the one clip that somebody put on the internet about him saying, don't virtue signal, just come out here and get your little prize and go f*** off because nobody cares about your opinion. I was like, thank you. Thank you, Ricky.
Turning his attention to Martin Scorsese, Gervais brings up the director's criticism of Marvel films, where Scorsese compared them to theme parks rather than true cinema. While Gervais agrees with him, he can't resist taking a playful jab at the filmmaker, joking about Scorsese's height and whether he'd even be tall enough to go on theme park rides.
All pre-written, right? Because they had to have those cuts ready to go.
I don't know, man. He's so badass. He might be able to do whatever the he wants. You know, he's Ricky Gervais. He's got the ability to probably say, "Oh, I'll do it, but I'll do it this way, and only this way." And they're like, "Okay, Ricky, we love you. We love you. We know you wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our amazing organization, and we all love working with you here at the Golden Globes. And it's fun. I mean, you stir people up, and everybody knows you're a good guy."
Ricky Gervais took aim at Hollywood's woke culture, mocking the industry for its contradictions. He joked that the companies these celebrities work for are unbelievable and quipped that they've spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg.
Same subject, though. When I was in England trying to do stand-up there, you can't say anything about the Queen. They have a fit, and they won't laugh. Is that true when you do it?
No,
Not my
Well, was then.
No, I mean, I think that I think that BBC are still a bit stuffy because they get complaints, and they're a sort of government body, so they fear complaints. But live, no, anything. It's just no.
Well, when you go on the Golden Globes, a lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
And so,
Thank you.
So this is
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Ricky Gervais shared his hilarious take on woke culture, emphasizing that just because someone is offended doesn't automatically make them right. In interviews and on social media, he has consistently reiterated his belief that comedy should remain free from societal constraints, unapologetically pushing boundaries without fear of censorship.
But he goes and hits him with genocide talk and shit. Like, hey! Apple must have been so pissed. We were just getting away with using all that slave labor and nobody even noticed. It's another thing like this murder, right? It's like that's just how everything was done. That's just how everything was done. That's how they whacked everybody. And that was how you got things built cheap. They used slave labor, but nobody knew. Nobody really understood until you saw things like Foxconn. You were like, wait a minute, this is a good setup? You guys are working 16 hours a day, you sleep in the building? This is a good place? This is good?
The stories of people, Amazon workers like running around and peeing themselves.
And Ricky Gervais, clearly in a relaxed mood, kicks off the night with his trademark candor. He openly admits to having had a couple of drinks and doesn't shy away from poking fun at the powerful guests in attendance. With a mischievous grin, he quips, "If I've upset anyone, well, I probably meant to. But hey, unless you're Mel Gibson, you're probably safe tonight."
God, that guy swings. He's out there swinging from the hip, chin up, doesn't give a fuck, telling it like it is. I love it.
He went after Apple in front of Tim Cook.
Dude,
they showed Tim Cook's
how
face.
crazy was that shit? He went after Apple, then he said if ISIS opened up a studio, you'd all be sending your resumes. Is that what he said? Something along those lines?
Yeah, you'd all be like, streaming service, you'll be contacting your agents or something.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Ricky Gervais takes note of the absence of Hollywood's tough guys, like Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, joking that they're too cool for this kind of TV. He then playfully remarks, that at least Kiefer Sutherland has a few hours left before things get messy. Turning his attention to Mel Gibson, Gervais quips that while Gibson has been through a lot, it's still not as much as the Jews, delivering one of the night's most controversial punchlines. Keeping up his irreverent style, he then introduces the first presenter, bringing Scarlett Johansson to the stage with a sly jab.
Is beautiful, talented, and Jewish, apparently. Mel Gibson told me that. He's obsessed. Please welcome Scarlett Johansson. And I mustn't mention Mel Gibson this year. Not his private life, his politics, his recent films. Right. A few years ago, on this show, I made a joke about Mel Gibson getting a bit drunk and saying a few unsavory things. We've all done it. I wasn't judging him, but now I find myself in the awkward position of having to introduce him again. Listen, I'm sure it's embarrassing for both of us, okay? And I blame NBC for this terrible situation. Mel blames, we know who Mel blames. Listen, I still feel a bit bad for it.
Mel Gibson then takes the stage and, with impeccable comedic timing, delivers a sharp comeback to Ricky.
Mel's forgotten all about it, apparently. That's what drinking does. No. I want to say something nice about Mel before he comes out. Oh yeah, okay, here you go. I'd rather have a drink with him in his hotel room tonight than with Bill Cosby. Please welcome Mel Gibson.
Ricky Gervais remarked that it had been a big year for pedophile movies, delivering one of his most provocative jokes of the night. He then continued his roast of Hollywood's woke culture, taking aim at its contradictions and performative activism.
Yeah. I love seeing Ricky once every 3 years because it reminds me to get a colonoscopy. Yeah.
Of course, Gervais' stance has drawn criticism, particularly from those who see his humor as outdated or harmful to marginalized communities. Some argue that his jokes about gender identity and other sensitive topics reinforce harmful stereotypes, while others view his critiques of wokeness as a refusal to adapt to evolving social norms. Regardless of the controversy, his unapologetic approach continues to spark debate. Stay tuned for more.